Thanks for clicking on my channel, Joy's Way. I'm Joy. If you're new here, welcome. And if you're a returning supporter of mine, welcome back, awesome person. So today, I'm still showing you the makeup and my makeup collection. And I'm going to show you my singles, cream sticks, liquid eyeshadows. I have all of them in one area. So let's get started. So I want to get started with this Ofra palette that I have. This is a Z palette. I won this in a giveaway from Debutante. She doesn't do her channel anymore, but I have some eyeshadows, a couple of blushes, a highlight, and a bronzer, I believe. And with that giveaway, I also got this Morphe palette, the Z palette, and in there is a whole bunch of beautiful eyeshadows. I have two Wet n Wild singles. This is Sugar. This is Envy. I have this Violet Voss single in Are You Kidding Me? I have this Lucky Chick liquid eyeshadow in the shade Rose Quartz. I have this double-ended eyeshadow stick that I use for eyeliners. This is Dusk and this is Dawn. I have this e.l.f. shadow stick in the shade Mint. I have this Be a Bombshell and I think the shade is Hangover. I have another Be a Bombshell and this is in the shade Fetish. I have this Huda Beauty matte and shimmer liquid shadow in the shade Bubblegum and Silk Bomber. I have this Huda Beauty matte and shiny liquid eyeshadow, and I think this side is minted and this side I can't pronounce the name. I have three of these Twin Flame. They're a multi-chrome pigment, and on the bottom they're colors. There's a purple, a pink, and like a blue, and that's the color that they're supposed to represent. I have three of the Ace Beauté singles. This is Cotton Candy, Iced Latte, French Vanilla, and my favorite, I have this Eye Dazzle in the shade Leona. This is technically a ColourPop blush, but I use it for my eye. This is Happy Thoughts. I have this Bubbly, this Plum. I have these three shadows. They come together. This is Fly to Your Heart, Straight On Till Morning, Never Grow Up. I have this one, Touch the Sky. My last two are right here. You're My Sunshine, Ice Dream. Now I am going to show you all of the palettes that I have not used. I believe I counted 31. I have this LA Colors. That's what that looks like. Ditto Venus palette. There's what that looks like. I have the Eloise Sahara Nights. I've swatched this, but I have not wore it yet. I have this Ilamasqua Studio Makeup, Morphe 9S, Dominique Cosmetics, ColourPop Statement Piece, Cherry Crush by ColourPop, Cloud Spin by ColourPop, Viseart, Exotic Peacock from Pinky Rose. There are those colors. Bella is Charmed. The Witchery Hour by Amuse. Ace Beauty Serenity eyeshadow palette. Hot Topics eyeshadow palette. Golden Hour by Beauty For Real. OPV Beauty Spotlights. Dose of Colors. Juvia's Place, I Live, I Love. The Zulu by Juvia's. Festival by Juvia's. Shades of Roses by Be Bella Cosmetics. Brow Bar by Rihanna. Ofra Pro Palette. Beauty Bakery, Sour You Doin'. Glamlight Blue Raspberry. Huda Beauty Rose Quartz. Natasha Denona Love Palette. Show you the eyeshadows that I have used, and I have 111 palettes. I have this Nomad palette, this little Revlon. I have the Huda Beauty Amethyst palette, well, Amethyst Obsessions palette. Cab Cosmetics, Lime Crime Venus 3. I have this Tarteist Pro palette. I have this Muse palette. I have the Starlight Goddess palette. Shades by Shane, MBY Makeup Studio. I have the Soul eyeshadow palette. Cream Shop, the Fruity Smoothie palette. Oaklawn Natural Colors. Beauty Bakery Breakfast and Bed. That Time of the Year. Venice Fling, Bailey Sarian and Estate. The Moods palette. I have the Pat McGrath Labs Mothership Mega Celestial Odyssey palette. Lovecraft Eyeshadow Beauty palette. Half Caked Your Eyes Only. Essence Hey LA. Wander Beauty Wanderous Escape. Wet n Wild SpongeBob Collection. Ofra Good to Go Mini Palette. Give Them Lala Beauty. I have this little Chella palette. Urban Decay Wired palette. Phase 0. Spanglish by Elamar. The Queen by Eloise. Nikki Tutorials and Beauty Bay. Lamplight. Conspiracy Theory by Jeffree Star. Jawbreaker by Jeffree Star. Star Ranch by Jeffree Star. Thirsty by Jeffree Star. Mini Controversy by Jeffree Star. Bloodlust by Jeffree Star. Made for Matte Jewel Pop by e.l.f. Mint Melt by e.l.f. 150 Eyeshadow Palette by e.l.f. ABH Norvina Collection Volume 1. ABH Norvina Volume 3 Palette. Zodiac Love Signs by BH Cosmetics. Los Angeles BH Cosmetic. Blueberry Muffin BH Cosmetic. Off Tropic NYX Palette. Ultimate Edit NYX Palette. Pinky Rose Cosmetics Pink Paradise Palette. Pinky Rose Cosmetics Sunflower Palette. 3A Deep Smoky Morphe Palette. 35M Boss Mood Morphe Palette. Mickey and Friends Truth Be Bold Morphe Palette. Morphe and Manny MUA Glam Palette. Iconic London Sunset to Sunrise Eyeshadow Palette. Iconic London Day to Slay Eyeshadow Palette. Juvia's Place The Rebel Honey. Juvia's Place The Rebel Army. Juvia's Place The Rebel Mint. Juvia's Place The Rebel Grays. The Violets by Juvia's Place. Juvia's Place The Nubian Royal. Juvia's Place The Nubian Glow. Juvia's Place The Magic Mini. Juvia's Place The Warriors. Juvia's Place The Saharian 2. Natasha Denona Ayana Palette. Natasha Denona Cupid Palette. Natasha Denona Jubilee Palette. Natasha Denona Peak palette, Ace Beauty Floral Vintage, Ace Beauty Violet Sage, Ace Beauty Fallen for You, Ace Beauty Nostalgia palette, Too Faced Salted Caramel, Too Faced Just Peachy Matte, Too Faced Watermelon Slice Face and Eye palette, Birds of Paradise Revolution palette, Showstopper Revolution palette, Wonderland IBY Beauty palette, Summer Blossom IBY palette, Ciate London The Velvet palette, Ciate London Spice palette, LA Color Sweet palette, LA Colors Flirty palette, Violet Voss I Love You Forever. It just says Violet Voss. Violet Voss Violet Sunset palette, Ocean Oasis Color Story palette, Escapism Color Story palette, Hip Dot Sonoto palette, Hip Dot and SpongeBob Bikini Bottom palette, Hip Dot Xeon palette, Viseart Petite Pro Dukes, Viseart Petite Pro Troas, Viseart palette, ColourPop Rumor Has It, Aura and Out ColourPop palette, Miss Bliss ColourPop palette, and a Tingle ColourPop palette, Wine and Only ColourPop palette, Fine Feathered ColourPop palette, It's My Pleasure ColourPop palette, High Tide ColourPop palette, Wild Child ColourPop palette, the Hello Kitty and Friends ColourPop palette, Tinkerbell Sprinkle a Little Magic ColourPop palette, At the Forest Site ColourPop and Raw Beauty Christie palette, Lush Life ColourPop palette, Garden Variety ColourPop palette,